In a world where hopium and common sense collide, starring the CryptoKeeper and BlockchainCrusader. Welcome to Debate Crypto.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Magic Internet Mondays. I think it is. I don't even know what day it is today, but it's the second day of the year. Guys, congratulations. We all made it to 2023, but get ready. We've got the one and only CVO and Forrest, aka Crypto Stacker, in the house tonight to be talking about where is 2023 going to head with the crypto prices, right? Where are we headed? What's happening? When is the altcoins going to pump? And, we're going to be covering all that, covering into detail about it. But guys, how you guys been doing?
Doing well, man. Always a pleasure to be back, and Happy New Year to everybody, and glad to see that the price action is exactly where we left it.
How you been, Forrest?
Likewise, yeah. That's pretty much it. Price hasn't moved a lot, just kind of sitting here waiting for a little bit of a breakout in either direction. And I'm sure we'll get into it in just a moment, but really that's what we're waiting for. We want to see where the market's heading in this new year, and then want to be able to hop onto those trends and look for those key levels to maybe pivot at.
Dude, 100%, right? I'm excited. It's a new year. We can put 2022 past us now. 2022 was a rough year. Right? It was all straight downhill. Now a lot of excitement, a lot of negativity. There's could definitely be a lot more of that this year, but I think I at least, personally believe that by the end of this year, we're going to start seeing some light at the end of the tunnel before we hit 2024 and, things start to gravitate. But that's just my opinion. Obviously, we don't know. That's why I bring you guys on here, because you guys are the TA analyst experts. So where do you guys want to start? You guys want to start with the Dow? You guys want to start with Bitcoin? How you guys want to tackle this today?
Forrest, if you want to, we were just talking a little bit ago, if you want to take it off and maybe take a look at some of the legacy markets and, kind of segue our way into crypto even, I think that might be a good way to start it if you agree.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll share my screen here, and just looking at the S&P 500, we are sitting underneath, it kind of similar to how Bitcoin's sitting underneath that 16.8K level. The S&P 500 is coming up underneath this 5X short level. Those shorts are coming in and pounding the S&P 500 back down. We really need to be able to break through this, make support on top of it, and continue this trend upwards. And there's actually, in my opinion, a pretty solid case. I'm kind of even in the next week or two, maybe January, I'm kind of 70-30. I'm a little bit more bullish in the month of January for multiple reasons. But one of those reasons from a technical standpoint is we are getting this bullish divergence here on the S&P 500 on the daily. Normally you're going to be a lot stronger if you're on the weekly, but on the daily, it's still pretty strong and could be a nice bounce here, a rally. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we go and tag some of these levels again, at least retesting I'll throw on our 21-week simple moving average here. At least maybe retest and try to put in another, retake this 21-week simple moving average and then maybe retest it once more from above before making a directional move or a breakout. But I'm in the camp of, January, maybe we see a little bit of a rally, but I still do think that there is pain ahead and recession ahead. We've also got our downtrend line here on the S&P 500. So we did just get a kind of a double top resistance here at this level. It's going to be resistance, but given this bullish divergence, I just wouldn't be surprised if maybe we float back up in the month of January to maybe test 4K. And then, if we're fortunate, maybe we get an extension of a bear market rally into February and March. And again, the timing of these things can be very difficult. There's a case to be made for maybe January we fall a little bit further and then we get that bear market rally or that relief rally. But I think most people's base case for 2023 is, recession at some point. It's just a matter of how long until that happens. And before I give it over to CVO, I will just kind of show you this very simple chart, very, very simple Dow Jones Industrial Average. We came up and we've reclaimed our 21-week simple moving average. We actually haven't even retested it yet. We're kind of floating above it. But if you just look at this downtrend line on the Dow Jones Industrial Average, this is very indicative of a reversal to the upside. Now, am I saying we're going to go and rip to new all-time highs? It's more possible in the Dow Jones considering than other stuff, than Bitcoin. We're only 11% away from the all-time high. But we could very certainly see a bit of a breakout here, maybe come up and test 35 and change. And just to kind of demonstrate, this is kind of the precondition for a rally up further, higher above. We see this pattern occur, this bump and run pattern occur over and over again. It doesn't mean that we can't fail it and fall back below. And we could rally and then come back down and revisit this trend line from the top and even break it at a later time in 2023. But we do have the preconditions there for what would be a reversal and a trend upwards. And we see that bump and run pattern is just very, very commonly a bear market or a downtrend reversal pattern. So that's there. And that's why I'm a little bit leaning a little bit more towards the bullish case for the short term, maybe a little bit of a bounce here, but who knows, we could always kind of straddle this downtrend line a little bit. The short signal for me in terms of the legacy markets, really paying attention to the Dow Jones Industrial Average here, is if we do break both this 21-week simple moving average and the downtrend line, hold some resistance there, that is not a good sign. That's my short trigger. I want to get in to a short, and I would expect crypto to not fare too well in that case. So again, we're just waiting for a directional move here, a little bit biased to the upside, but very open to the possibility that we lose these levels and we go further down.
Dude, that was great analysis. I mean, I mean, do you think the fact of the recession situation you brought it up, right? When they announce finally officially, hey, yeah, we're in a recession. First, do you think that announcement is going to come anytime soon, the first 2 quarters? And if it does, would the market really react to it, or is it already kind of baked into the market?
Is this one for me or CVO?
Yeah, I'm asking you. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, the definition of a recession is going to change depending on who you ask, and we kind of had that debate in 2022. 20% correction on the S&P 500 is what some people say. Other people say 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP. I think it's going to be very difficult for us to not get a recession. I don't know if it'll be in the first 2 quarters. I don't know if it'll be, Q2, Q3, Q4. What I do know is that central banks and even though Jerome Powell says he's not playing any games and he's, he doesn't even have a pivot baked into the 2023 plan. Central banks and governments love to kick the can down the road as far as they can. So who knows? I mean, if they can delay a recession, they're going to try to delay a recession. And again, I say that from a government standpoint, but at the same time, Jerome Powell wants to orchestrate and kind of surgically go in and create a soft landing. But he said it's going to be very difficult for that to happen. And for many top analysts are saying, Stanley Druckenmiller is saying, base case is a hard landing in 2023, if not 2024. So who knows? Maybe they delay it. The timing of these things can be very, very difficult to pin down exactly, but at some point in 2023, I think we do get that recession.
Perfect. Yeah, dude. I know for sure it's coming. They can only delay it for so long. At some point, they're gonna have to stand up in front of the big screen and say, "Yeah, it's here." So we'll see. We'll see how things go when that happens. CVO, what are you thinking, man?
So, I just leaving, I guess, on the side note of everyone anticipating a recession. It's just something to kind of be weary of, I suppose. Granted, the information is kind of laid out in front of us, and maybe it's been there, but whether or not we see that, is definitely yet to be seen. The markets could still, really have such a volatile time in the interim. So for me, I'm just kind of taking it, as it comes, looking at what's in front of us and kind of strategizing for certain areas of the chart. I was going to take a look at a couple things here, but for me with the market, I lean so much on Ethereum. Obviously for the altcoins, that's a big indicator. Bitcoin, Ethereum tend to move in unison ish. Even though you have some instances where, Bitcoin's made a new low from June of last year, and Ethereum's kind of still been holding on to that low quite substantially. But I'm for 2023 going into it, man, I think that we're going to have I think that there's opportunities for some really substantial rallies. Not to say that means we go back to all-time highs or things of that nature, but potential big moves, 40, 50, 60% possible out of Bitcoin. That's going to obviously lead into some really nice movements out of the altcoins short term. And even though that they've been beat down so much, a lot of them 90% dropped and then dropped another 90. So for them to actually get a decent little pump from where they are now, and that's the hard thing, is that a lot of people are probably holding still from all-time highs, or maybe they're just now coming in as taking losses, or they took losses at the end of the year for tax harvesting or what have you. But I think there's some big opportunities to be had. But once again, you just kind of have to take it as it comes. It's I kind of hung my hat up on kind of trying to time certain things in the market, but just definitely able to identify some areas that to be concerned with and be able to pivot, as Forrest kind of alluded to as well. Just be able to be neutral and know that there's nothing that we're going to say or do to influence the market, but just be willing to kind of go with it. So
yeah, dude, guaranteed, right? That there's no way of trying to time this market, and it's just kind of like you said, you're gonna have to pivot as things happen. And I think the way you guys do a lot of your TA is kind of great for that, right? A lot of range bound trading stuff. So it is what it is, right? We need to prepare for what this market being able to drag itself out into a longer, more extended, slow bleed out. I know, Forrest, you mentioned earlier before on the stream, before going on stream, about 14K or so for Bitcoin. How do you see that? How do you see that playing out? Do you see that playing out sometime soon, or do you see that playing out later in the year? And is it going to be like a slow bleed out or a quick wick down to 14?
I think all of those possibilities are completely plausible. There's a couple of catalysts and things that we need to be aware of. So, for one of my predictions for 2023 is actually, and one of the indicators that I'm looking at is the ETH Bitcoin chart. I think if the ETH Bitcoin chart has been trending upwards for quite some time now, if you look back over the last 2 years, and usually when Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin, usually that's when the market's going up to some degree. And then, Bitcoin will take back some of that dominance when ETH crashes and when altcoins crash. So, right, that ETH Bitcoin chart is kind of at a terminal point right now where it may break out in either direction. And if we break out upwards and ETH starts outperforming Bitcoin, I think that could actually be a really nice signal for the rest of the market. But as far as when does Bitcoin drop to 14K if it does at all? When does it drop to 12K if it does at all? And how does it get there? Well, there's a couple of things that could push it down there. Well, the slow bleed out case would be just further Bitcoin miner capitulation. Like we've had, I forget the name of the large company that just declared bankruptcy, but I believe it was one of the largest mining companies, if not the largest, declared bankruptcy. They're having to sell Bitcoin. And right now it's not particularly profitable to be mining Bitcoin. So any Bitcoin that does get mined, if you don't have the ability to pay for electricity with, loans that you've taken out or capital that you already have, you actually have to sell that Bitcoin now to pay for that electricity. So there's kind of structural forced selling within Bitcoin right now. And that would be the case for kind of a slow bleed out where these miners just get more and more and more pain. Now, the case for, a ripping the Band-Aid off and a flash crash down and a wick down to 14K or 12K or even 10K, if you think we could, push through to 12K quickly, would be the DCG Genesis Grayscale situation with, obviously we got a little bit of drama between them and Gemini. And I believe the due date on the Genesis loan is in March or April, not 100%. Don't quote me on that. But it's not for a couple more months. So I think we'll just see that situation continue to kind of fester. And if it blows up and Genesis or Grayscale have to sell off, dissolve the Grayscale trust and sell off some Bitcoin, sell off some Ethereum. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. And I feel like a lot of people don't. It's a very complicated kind kind of black box of how restructuring of companies can work, and whose assets are whose, and what you can actually do in terms of selling them off. But if we did get a big sell off of forced capitulation, forced liquidation, in that realm of DCG, Genesis, Grayscale, then that would be the catalyst to really sink us to probably what I would expect would be the 2023 lows. So yeah, just something to be aware of. And then you just never know. I mean, crypto is still down quite a bit. You don't know who else is hiding the fact that they're insolvent, or you don't know how close people are to being insolvent right now. FTX was hiding for a really long time, so there could always be another kind of black swan event hiding that nobody sees. Maybe it's Binance. I personally don't think it's Binance, but maybe it's somebody else hiding. My guess, though, to be honest, would be if you've been able to survive thus far. At least the way I think of this is, if you were able to survive this bear market and the FTX collapse, and you still haven't gone under, chances are you probably had pretty decent risk management in place, and you're going to be okay to hold out for a little bit longer.
And how do you guys feel? Billy mentioned it in the chat. Shout out to Crypto Billy. But how do you guys feel about Michael Saylor continuously buying millions of dollars of Bitcoin? Do you think that you take that in as a factor of any kind, or is just kind of like a, doesn't even affect the markets? Nothing to even like consider.
So, I mean, I'll take this one. For me specifically, it doesn't mean anything, man. I don't pay attention to any of the news with that, because Michael Saylor is also buying us, dumping into the market at all-time highs also, and here we are. So, I feel like some of those news catalysts can just basically get wrapped into just that, right? Just on a good day when the market's pumping, you just need something to be said, and it's like, oh, Michael Saylor just bought a couple 100,000 or whatever the case is, and it could lead into something like that. But aside from that, I me personally, I don't give too much weight to that. I don't know about you, Forrest, if that kind of leans in anything in your analysis, but me, I wouldn't be looking for that as any kind of indication.
No, I think that's pretty insignificant news at this point. One, because we already know that Michael Saylor's like a mega bull for crypto, so that doesn't change anything fundamentally. Like if it was, I don't know, the CEO of Google or the CEO of Apple that was like DCAing in millions of his personal income into Bitcoin. All right, well, that's interesting, because then maybe that means the CEO of a large company might be interested in putting Bitcoin on Apple's balance sheet or something. That would actually shift the fundamentals. This is just a little bit of structural buying in a bear market from somebody who we know to be a big bull. For that to really mean anything, I think it would need to have some sort of fundamental shifting implications, like, oh, maybe there's a large company that may accumulate because their CEO is a big fan of Bitcoin or something like that. But we haven't gotten any of those headlines, and I don't know that we will. Unfortunately, I don't know that Apple or Google or any of those big companies are accumulating right now. Hopefully they are, but it's we're in a situation where crypto's kind of seen as a bad word after FTX, and I don't know if they would want to publicly put it on their balance sheets right now. So unfortunately, in that regard, I do think FTX did move the space back maybe a couple years, which is unfortunate, but we'll see how it goes.
That is true. The negative sentiment of FTX is definitely still looming around, and it's going to be looming around for quite a bit of time until they pass some level of regulation, where then these institutions can get clarity and we can get kind of past the whole FTX thing. How long are they going to drag out the FTX situation? I don't know, but I definitely know that they're going to be pointing at it for a long time. But let's look at some charts, guys. What do you guys want to hit on first? You guys want to look at the Bitcoin chart, or you guys want to go straight into the altcoins? How you guys feeling right now? You guys excited for Bitcoin or excited for the altcoins?
Dealer's choice, man. We can start with some Bitcoin.
All right, who wants to hit Bitcoin? Forrest, you want to take Bitcoin?
Sure, I can take Bitcoin.
All right.
All right. I'll share my screen here. All right, so Bitcoin, like I was kind of alluding to when I was talking about the Dow Jones, or I'm sorry, the S&P 500, sitting right below that resistance level, and that's what we've gotten here with Bitcoin. Here's our key level. I mean, I'll just draw it right over. It's been 16.8K. That's where that short pressure can start coming back into the market. What I mean by that is you've got a lot of people that are very weary, right? Very weary of this level right here, 25.2. Right? Imagine we get a bear market rally and we start creeping back up, and it honestly would probably be faster than that if we do rally. And I'm not saying that this is 100% what we're going to get, but we kind of talked about that situation of, hey, we could see 27, 28K. We could see a retest of these levels. We could see a retest of 24 to 25K. There's quite a bit of resistance in this level. Well, a lot of the people that are shorting Bitcoin at these levels, which honestly, if you're shorting Bitcoin at these levels for a longer term time frame, I think you're being just a little bit greedy. I think right now Bitcoin's low enough where we could have that pop at any moment, and we have had several pops that would come in and liquidate people. Any kind of shorts that I'm in right now are kind of in and out type of shorts, similar to towards the top of a bull market. And I'm not saying we're at the bottom for certain, but you start getting up into these levels, and any of your longs, you really want to be getting in and out. If you're just entering longs, like trying to ride up to 100K, you end up getting crushed. Similar to, if you're shorting Bitcoin here, trying to ride this down to 12K, you might be getting a little bit too greedy until at least we get some sort of a confirmation that we're making new lows. Now, this 16.8K level is really, really important because those people who are shorting Bitcoin can no longer short on 3x leverage and hide their, and it's I've got these wrong. It's actually 2x leverage, which is an even more significant level. You can no longer short Bitcoin here on 2x leverage as soon as price goes below this 16.8K level, and hide your liquidation point above this local high at 25.2K. And that's significant because if I'm like dollar cost averaging into a 2x short or really low leverage short, or I'm just kind of looking to take a low leverage short, I want to be able to manage my liquidation point on that short in such a way that it's protected against key resistance levels. And this is a very obvious key resistance level at 25K. And what that's doing is as soon as Bitcoin's price kind of drops down below this level, you see those buyers are starting to kind of take over and push it back up. But as soon as it pops back up above this level, the sellers, those shorters, are like, oh, I can short on 3x leverage and hide that liquidation point up above 25K. And what you get is this kind of consolidation around the 16.8K level where we hold it as resistance, hold it as support, hold it as resistance. We kind of dance on it. And then now recently we've come up and tested it as resistance. Now, that's a very specific level. What I'm watching for is a move in one direction or the other. I think if we see a lot of buying behavior this week in the S&P 500 and SPX does well, I think Bitcoin will take out this level, probably make some support on top of it, and come up and try to test some of these previous levels here. Try to take out some of this liquidity up towards 18.5K. Now, if the S&P 500 crashes tomorrow and crashes this week, this is a pretty clear short trigger, and then that could set us up to go and retest this demand zone, or even push us lower down into some of these support levels that we've got. Obviously, 12.6K. We're not going to move these levels, but we do have some support around the 14K levels as well. So, just really waiting for some sort of trend to emerge before we try to throw darts and pick a direction here.
And when we head towards that 14K level, what are the chances that we find some strong support and bounce from there versus just breaking right through and heading straight lower? Is there anything you can look at right now or see that 14 could be, a next strong bottom, or it's just
yeah, absolutely. So if we move up to our most recent local high right before the FTX collapse, this is another key level here at 21.5K that a lot of people are wanting to hide their liquidation points above. And what that's given us so far is this level at 16.1K, which has been Soft support. It didn't hold perfectly, but there was definitely buyers, right? Beneath this level. We can even take a little trip down to 16.1K and try to test that and hold that again before heading back up to maybe 17 or 18. But if we do fall down to that 14K region, 14,320 is the level. And it really depends on how hard we go down there, right? If we slam down, usually you'll overshoot these levels by a little bit, right? Just like we overshot them right here. Just like when we were pumping really hard, we overshot this one a bit. We could certainly overshoot, but then I would expect consolidation, a recovery of it and consolidation on 14.3K. And if we saw that, that's where I'd actually want to look for a long, right? Very similar to what we saw over here. We saw the 16.1K level act as some support, right? We recovered it, consolidated, found support, and then pushed back up. Now, if we, drop below this level and we hold it as resistance, right, then we're probably falling down to maybe that 12K level. But 14.32 thousand for Bitcoin would be the key level that I've got here as support.
Perfect, dude. Perfect. I mean, I don't know. If you're a trader, that sounds very exciting. If you're a dollar cost averaging person, could also be exciting if you have some dry powder on the side to pick up some of these altcoins, potentially some Bitcoin as well. But talking about altcoins, CVO, $14,000 Bitcoin, $10,000 Bitcoin. Where are the altcoins headed, man? What altcoins are you somewhat looking at right now that could be somewhat interesting in the meantime?
For sure. Sorry, gotta get the old New Year's
wind up
covered.
before dropping some bombs.
Right. So I just want to touch on Bitcoin too, really quickly. Let me just make sure I share the right screen there. All right, cool. I just kind of updated this kind of briefly because my Bitcoin chart was a little muddy. I'm going to be honest, but you just kind of taking a look at this, similar to kind of how Forrest was just saying, like 2-3 weeks ago when we were on, looking up toward, or I guess it was almost a month ago now. This was like right before the 14th, the FOMC meeting. So the week before that, so about a month ago now. We were looking for this $18,000 region, right? This was our monthly key level last month. So the average price from the previous month, high time frame average of price action likes to be efficient, high statistical target to be met. We were looking for this to kind of do exactly what it did, right? You had this previous high back here at November 10th, and then just without any news, honestly. I know I hate beating that horse, I guess, the dead horse, but for me, I just stay away from the news because it's just so. Obviously, it is correlating to everything, but for me personally, I try to deal without it because it can very well it can almost muddy your analysis in a sense. Because, for example, this day right here, this was the day of the FOMC meeting, and a lot of people were FOMOing into the market because all we had was good news, right? We had SBF just got arrested. You had the Fed was expected. Really there was nothing that really should have just dumped the market another 15%, right? Or 30%, 40% for some of the altcoins. But this is, the technical setup that we were looking for was basically to come up and take this high, what's known as a swing failure pattern, essentially. So you come up and you basically, some will call it a scam wick, fake out, whatever you want to call it. But all you're doing is you're coming up, taking the liquidity from here, right? You're stopping out anybody that's shorting with a stop loss just above the high, and then you get the actual move underway here. So, this was a really nice little setup. And what we did here is we just essentially came all the way back down to our overall range, right? So we got the overall range, which does pretty much, let's pull this up here. All right, we got an overall range here, deviated it, came back in, got the back test right here. So if you were to look at this in a sense, right, got our little range going right here. Perfect little back test. Comes back in, back test the high, where are you targeting, point of control, right? Overall, after that value area low. We got 2 nice bounces off that so far. So this was a really nice trade setup, even if you did miss the high, right? So this was one thing we were looking for. So in terms of, what's kind of next and what to look for at least out of what we're looking for here is, you got the yearly open now just below us, right? We got new yearly information. You got new yearly averages, 6-month, quarterlies, monthlies, all kinds of new levels to kind of be aware of. Not to say that's like just a straight up, target to be had, but as you start getting closer to them, things start to line up, and those are definitely areas to be aware of. But for now, you do have a weekly level here, right? That's just right below where we are now. So as long as we're living above this 16.5 and 16.6. The expectation or anticipation, I suppose, that we would continue up a little higher is still there. Just above these highs that we put in for the last couple of weeks here, we do have an inefficiency in the market known as a single print. So that's an area essentially where, almost the simple way to put it is, you had this quick move down, you're going to get the quick move up, and this is where that, essentially starts and finishes, right? And that potentially puts you up to 17.3, right? It's the 0.5 of the overall high to low at the moment. This is also an area, you'd be coming into yet again another statistical target for this month. Now we do have a monthly level just below here as well. And if you do come in through here, and this is one of those times where you do just kind of have to be able to monitor and manage the market as you go. But we start claiming this region, and then to me, I'd be looking up to 17.8, right? 17.8. If you do not claim that area, then you have the potential for a decent short. It's the golden pocket of this whole area as well. This would be a really, decent move back upwards after we spend no time coming back to 18K. Could potentially trap some people in here. You'd essentially knock everybody out that's been trying to short, obviously, in this small window, and then, potentially move on from there. But not to say this is a major target only to be focused on and overlooking anything else. I do agree with 16,800 as well. If you look at last month's range here, right? So taking a look at December now that it's closed out, you got the overall high once again comes in right in between these single prints. Okay. We deviated the range, obviously came down to the overall range, but then we slowly now have made our way back in the last month. You got the weekly level is essentially the low, right? Our point of control is 16,800. So that's that level that Forrest was just on about. So clearing 16.8 would definitely be an area to kind of keep your eyes on, because if we do such a thing, I would be anticipating at least a full range rotation, which could take us up to 17.2. There'd be no reason not to really come up and tag 17.3, meet the 0.5, close out the single print, and then from there kind of reevaluate in the short term. Could very well come up and get a rejection there and just rotate back down. But otherwise, this would be the stair step in the short term here for me out of Bitcoin, potentially up to about 17.8, right, with a couple of areas to be really, kind of focused in on. With the idea of going down to 14K, just kind of wanted to, step on that a little bit too. More so a shout out to, Magic Internet Money in the chat here, right? He's my business partner here. He usually covers Bitcoins. That's why I didn't really have too much on my Bitcoin chart here. But he pointed out the potential for a harmonic pattern quite a while back, known as the deep crab, right? And that would be something. Let me see if I have it on here still. I was just looking at it there. Either way, does take us down to potentially, when you were asking about, here it is, when you're asking about the support at 14K, there's a really big area there. It is a yearly level, right? So I'm going to kind of back it up here. It's an annual level here, right at 13,880, give or take. So once again, it's not necessarily to say that would be the overall target, because you could very well just nuke straight through there. This would be more so a target as far as a short position would go. But this is an idea that, we've kind of been looking into as well. Does kind of allude to that area. Even without this, once again, the harmonics really shouldn't be anything you trade off of until they're completed, right? It's just like an inverse head and shoulders or any kind of other pattern you look for, right? You get the breakout, the retest type of thing. So you really want to wait till this completes before you trade this pattern, which if this comes to fruition, we'd be looking for a back test of all the way back up to our B leg, which would be a pretty big bounce, right? If we get that. So even with that just kind of off the table, it is a yearly level down there at 13,880. You'd effectively come down and take all the lows, right? And then we'd be bouncing. We'd look for a really potential nice bounce. One thing I want to point out here is that this is not a huge drop, by the way, right? This is not a capitulation. This is not a crash. At this point, obviously, we've already made our way down very substantially in the market. I think that the numbers get in everybody's head, that 13, 14K is, this. They'll see that on their, potentially their portfolio or the TV one morning or something, and think that that's a super far away from where we are now. And it's really not. It's no different than actually when we fell from our FOMC, high to, give or take another 6%, but to where we've kind of just fell last month as well. So a normal day in crypto to take a stroll down to this region. It does have a lot of statistical area around there. It does have a really, a lot of support. I'll just go ahead and kind of agree to that. So with that being said, if we see Bitcoin come down to this region, I point out the percentage because it's important to note that that's only a 15, 16, 20% fall for Bitcoin. So double that for the altcoins, right? I mean, that's just usually our rule of thumb. For Ethereum here, we've been looking at the potential here. I got a nice fresh chart, right? So right off the rip, though, if you were to see a 14K Bitcoin, just kind of throwing this out there, we might not get it. That's the biggest thing you got to really be neutral around these areas, because we're at a similar time. A lot of people do bring it up where it's like when we were looking for 100K Bitcoin, how many just blindly waited for that extra 30% more from 70K, and then are where they are now. You potentially have the same setup, for some of these lower areas for Bitcoin, right? Even if we get down to 14 or 13 or where we are now, and everybody just has to get to 14 or this or that, we're only 15% away from 13K. So just something to kind of keep in mind, right? But if we were to see a 15% move out of Bitcoin fall, I would imagine at least 15, 20% out of Ethereum, right? So once again, targeting this region. And for many reasons, right? So I had a Christmas bat, right? We were talking about that, and once again, that's why it's the harmonics are not gospel by any means, and especially until they complete. So if you're really just building out that idea, it is just that, an idea until it finishes. But regardless of that, I still do lean more. Potentially we get a little rise up towards our recent high of 1350, but I still picture us coming back down and taking all these lows out. And then having a really substantial rally opportunity, right? If that's the case. Reason being, you can see here a really interesting thing we've been doing over the last few months. It's almost 2 months now, by the way, since the FTX collapse, right? Which is crazy to think. All right, so you got this area right here, and we've come down, we've made a high, right? This is November 10th, 1345. Come down, you made a low, come back down, you made another low. You didn't take it though, right? You didn't stop everybody out. Everybody was, anybody in here with stops is saved by the skin on their teeth. Comes back up. Where do we get to? We literally come right back up to the high. So there is literally traders on both sides of this coin right now. And we are entering into a time frame where any big move down or up is going to trigger everybody to jump into it either way, right? So it's an interesting time because a move in the sense of doing something like, right now we come back up and potentially we come back into this region, right? Doesn't necessarily stop everybody out. Maybe even people start entering more longs in this position, thinking we have, a low, a higher low, so on and so forth. And then potentially we come all the way down to that target. Bitcoin all of a sudden is 13,880. Ethereum comes down to some of these areas, targeting this area right here, this area right here, and then these two as well, right? There's so much, I hate using the word, but there's so much liquidity down here, essentially, because there are so many that will have their stop losses put here, or if they see the price drop below this region, now we'd be under $1,000. That's the the mental target that everybody would have in their mind, that we'd be going to $700, $500, or lower, whatever the case is. And this very well could be where we turn around, right? That would initiate enough fuel to basically turn this around and have a really substantial bounce. One of the biggest cases that I like to make on that is just looking at it just from a straight structural area. So to answer the question on what would the altcoins look like, I think that Ethereum would take a 20% haircut. I think that the altcoins could take a 30 to 40% haircut, but then everything would really, really bounce from there. Looking at Ethereum on some of these higher time frame areas as well. We're just going to take a look at our last month, right, to kind of zoom into some areas here. Very tight areas that Ethereum has really been put into. And during these times, in the group, Max, he's our order flow and open interest specialist. He constantly brings up the ideas that when you get these, especially when you go over a week or two, you go over the weekend, you get a lot of time in the market where people are starting to overthink their trade or overthink that what's going to happen, and they'll start entering new positions and just kind of building up positions in these weird areas where you're not necessarily at the low, you're not necessarily at the high, you're right in the middle, and then we get these really quick moves to kind of stop everybody out right before the actual moves take place. As far as the monthly would go here, you are sitting right at the point of control, which is an area we were looking for last night in our members only market update. Not only is that the point of control here for last month, but it is the point of control for the entire last quarter, right? So this is a pretty big area that over the last 3 months now we've really rooted into this price action. So in the short term, you'd really want to see this area claimed, 1217, 1220, give or take. And then from there, we'd be looking up to, what potentially could be making our way back up to this region. One thing to note is that the overall range that we're in right now for Ethereum does come up just above the high, right? So very similar to how we were just talking, that you got these two lows right here that, basically are still intact. You pretty much still have the highs intact as well. So to do something very crazy is come up and take the high here, come down and actually take the low and then reverse it from there. That would be a wild scenario that, just putting it out there in a potential, tinkering situation. But for me, really anticipating, to see how we get through this region right here. Otherwise, Ethereum, the whole market, Bitcoin as a whole, I think if we're looking at Bitcoin to potentially still have a little bit of gas in the tank and rise up to 17.2, or breaks through that 16.8 and pushes up to potentially even 17.8. I think that the altcoins short term have a nice little move up, and then you really just want to gauge the market on how things are going to play out. When we look at, let's see here, got a couple of just key levels as well, right? So we've got a new monthly average coming in here. So that's right about 1232. So in the short term, I would say, you'd really want to start living above that for any more upside on Ethereum. That would essentially also come through and clear these highs. One area to be on the look for is there. We've got a new quarterly level that does come in here. And this is a really big one for me. For a couple of reasons, because not only is this a quarterly, high time frame average, this is actually a quarterly level as well on the chart. If you go out to the 3-month time frame, you can see where we've got a quarterly level right here where we've not back tested that quite yet. And so for price action to come up to that area, I would be really kind of cautious if we do make it all the way back up towards that, 1320 region. Got another daily up there as well, I do believe. And yep, so 1320. 1320 is a really big one for me. If we get through, some of these areas up here, would essentially be coming back almost all the way up to the high here. But if we do not make it through this region, this would be a potential area for a decent short. And from there, once again, just kind of, gauging on the entire market. I still think that, we kind of root around in this region. And then over time, we really do come down, take these lows, and then potentially in the next week or two, the next coming weeks, next coming months, we get a really decent move, onward and upward here. And if you kind of take a look at just the trajectory, I mean, you've got high, 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 all these areas that really haven't been, revisited in the last few months. This is actually just from August. So anybody that's actually been entering shorts, potentially they're either not going to take enough profit. Even if we come down to these levels, it's sub $1,000 once again. I think everybody still be targeting for a 10K Bitcoin, $500, $300, things of that nature for ETH, which potentially we come down to, but maybe not, right away. And then for a really big, reversal into the next year at some point, I think it's really likely that we come up and actually revisit some of these areas and kind of live in this region for ETH, which is gonna really showcase that for the rest of the altcoins as well, and the market.
And you're saying for when? That's for later in the year, probably.
Like I said, I'm really not gonna try to time it. I'm just like in the short term, really just looking to see, if we can clear through 1220. I'm looking at 1320, that $100 window for now. Otherwise, the main event for me is just kind of paying attention to see how and when ETH comes down, if it does to some of these lower levels, to potentially that daily level down here at 1,037, which, like I said, lower than that's going to be sub 1,000, and then from there we'd really have to kind of gauge and see how things are looking.
All right, yeah.
The baby was not about it.
Yeah, she's not very happy right now. She heard about those low ETH prices and was like, "No, we need a pump here. How much lower can we go?" But no, honestly, I mean, it is exciting. It's a mixed bag of emotions. Like hearing of ETH sub 1,000, right, potentially 500, that can change somebody's life if they have enough dry powder on the side and the opportunity presents itself when they take it. Now, if the opportunity doesn't present itself, or if the person has run out of dry powder on the side and they no longer have any more dollar cost average in, right? Then those lower prices just means a more extended bear market for them. And I'm sure they're not going to be very happy about that because they're trying to get the market to pump as soon as possible to try to make some gains in their portfolio. So it is definitely a mixed bag of emotions, in my opinion. I want lower prices, but I also don't want this bear market to keep on lasting forever. I kind of want to, relive the good times of the bull market, right? Where we can all just sit around and just have a good time, and everybody's just like kind of down now, right? Kind of just like exhausted, numb to the fact that, hey, crypto's just, like we said, right? We're back at the same levels we were last week or the week before that or the week before that. It's like nothing tremendously exciting has been happening in the markets. But either way, if you are paying attention, if you are here now, you are definitely going to be at the forefront of what is actually going to be happening, and will give you the opportunity to take action one way or the other. And hopefully you guys, are here to continuously always keep learning. And if you are, make sure you follow these guys, right? Make sure you go to the links down below. Go follow CryptoStat. They both got trading groups. They both have different styles. So find whatever's most beneficial to you, and tag along and start learning. This is the time. Now when things are slow, when things are boring, is the time to sit down, start grinding and learning new skills to prepare yourself for the next bull market. When the bull market comes, it comes in a hot flash, right? It's just, there's no time for anything. And there's just constant FOMO everywhere. It is definitely not the time to sit down and start grinding out for a new skill. But if you guys have any last words for our viewers before we close out tonight, Forrest, what do you got for the people? I know we're just starting the year. What do you want to tell the people?
Yeah, be patient. Don't marry your bags. Be willing to be flexible and rotate capital. I think 2023 is going to be a year from an investment angle, right? In this is something that I constantly preach, is you really want to separate trading from investing. A lot of traders also invest, and a lot of investors also trade. But that's fine, but you need to separate the two. Don't turn trades into investments, and don't invest in a trade, so to speak. That's the old saying. From an investment standpoint, not from a trading angle. From an investment standpoint, I think 2023 is going to be the year where it's really, really important to remain diversified. And diversification, I've been saying this for a while, diversification has not paid off over the last decade, right? For the last decade, if you were in real estate, tech stocks, growth stocks, or crypto, you outperformed everybody, right? If you were in bonds, you did okay, but you missed out on the massive returns of Tesla. You missed out on the massive returns of Bitcoin and Ethereum and altcoins and real estate. But in 2023, we're moving into potential recession. We've got the yield curve inverting. We've got a lot of stuff happening. So I know we're here talking about crypto, but I would honestly, and I'm not recommending anything because I'm not a financial advisor, but I'd take a look at diversifying your overall portfolio. It's easy to love crypto, and it's easy to find yourself overexposed to crypto. And if there's a time to be overexposed to crypto, it's towards the bottom of a bear market, as long as you're solvent and you can ride it back up into the bull market. You don't want to be overexposed in a bull market. But moving into these uncertain times, we've got geopolitical issues. Normally, during times of war and geopolitical turmoil, commodities do well, right? So there's definitely different places you can place your money than crypto. Now, that being said, I'm obviously a big fan of crypto. I'm very heavily exposed to crypto. I'm not saying don't buy crypto. What I'm saying is take a strategy of diversification and open-mindedness into 2023 and 2024, and it may just pay off.
Dude, that's great advice. 100%. Right. And it's never financial advice. It's just, good tips. CVO, what you got for the people?
Good tips. Yeah, just, we talk about the price action being kind of where it was and this and that, but I do think that, we are coming into a time where everybody is really just kind of stepping away and, just really, riding it off. Definitely the recipe is there now and like I said, there's potential for a 15% drop in Bitcoin, Ethereum, potentially another 20 and 30 in the altcoins, which, like I said, at this point, it's honestly, that's just a Tuesday in the crypto market. But, you know, and who knows, I guess, you know, there's always the opportunity that we go lower, but I think that there's some opportunities to have some really nice rallies. And I think that with this year will be exciting, whether or not it's like, you know, you get a few weeks at a time, and then we get all of a sudden hit with, you know, some regulation or whatever the case is, you know, recession and ensues or whatever happens, I guess, is definitely, I think that there's going to be some opportunities, and I do think that it will get exciting again. Might not be, you know, 100K Bitcoin exciting for a while, but you know, definitely going to have some opportunities at hand. So just stick around and you know, keep your heads up, and you know, just as much as possible, just keep yourself strategized for what's best for you. You know, if everything that, you know, Forrest is alluding to as well, like kind of talk, you know, and not just Forrest, but anybody in the market is looking at these things and recession wise and yield curves and everything that is happening. You know, you just got to really position yourself for what's best for you and your family, but also be able to, you know, pivot if things change and understand what those things could look like. So,
Dude, 100%. I just want to say, everybody, one more time, if you guys are not following Crypto Stacker, if you're not following CVO in lending and leading crypto, make sure you guys go follow them. They come on here every Monday, every Thursday to continuously give you updates on what is the market happening, right? So make sure you go show them some love. Go make sure you join their streams, their Discords, get involved in trading, and that's what you really want to. These are great guys right here that can definitely help you to learn how to do that. So guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate you guys taking time out of your Monday, right, to come on here on the show. So I just want to say, everybody, remember to question everything, trust nothing, and until next time, hodl like it's hot. See you guys.
take it easy.